Hello, Jackie. Jackie Udney, writer, director of What I Am. We were very happy to screen your film yesterday at This Is England Festival 2024. And thank you for joining us first. And
thank you for having me.
Well, it's a great pleasure, and people really loved your film yesterday. I could see, we talked after the screening. And so we won't spoil anything, of course, because I want people to go and watch it. But the fact is, it's a very interesting pitch at first, which is this woman, falling down, having a domestic accident, and then suffering from amnesia. And this triggers a completely new life without the burden of kind of social need for women to do things the way they are taught to do.
Yeah.
And so she can live a life of her own. How did you come up with this idea first? And how did you get from the idea to this film?
The idea, I decided to make a short film, and I decided I wanted to make something that was very personal to me, and asked myself, well, what do I want to say with a film? And I've thought a lot. I've thought a lot about what it means to be a woman in a largely patriarchal society, and what that meant growing up. And I felt that as women, we absorb all sorts of messaging throughout our lives from the youngest age, telling us what we should look like, what we should expect, what we're entitled to, and where our place is in the society. And I've always found that quite oppressive and unfair and unequal compared to men, compared to boys. And but you become conditioned to believe this, to think this way. And I thought how interesting it would be to tell a story about a woman who's maybe been relieved of that message. You know, so obvious choice was to have someone who has amnesia. And I thought, what would a woman without this baggage look like? I thought that was a really interesting question. You know, she maybe wouldn't be feminine, she'd be more androgynous. She might not necessarily gravitate towards heterosexuality, you know, she might be more fluid. I also think she might be more confident, bolder, more expressive, because I think women can sometimes feel they shouldn't be too expressive, or shouldn't be this, shouldn't be that. Mm-hmm. And I think that maybe you would see a much more authentic version of a woman. And so that was the beginning of the idea, and then the amnesia became the obvious choice to take that memory away. And also I've always been interested in philosophy, and particularly existential philosophy, which does invite you to try and throw away all those constructions of a person, and find out who you really are. And I think that's what the story is. It's to find out this woman, gives her a chance to be free, to discover who she was maybe always meant to be. And then I also thought it would be interesting to add another layer into the story, which is about class. Yeah. And I think in the UK particularly, I think it's everywhere, people just give a different name to it. They call it inequality. In the UK, we call it class, I think. Mm-hmm. And I think there is a very level of different status in society, and I think that's also very oppressive and maybe prevents people from expressing themselves fully. So I added that in as another angle to the story.
Yeah, it's very interesting because, once again, we're not going to spoil anything, no. But the fact is, it's very subtle the way you bring it into the film, because even suffering from amnesia, the character needs a name, needs to get an address, needs to get some landmarks, just to know identity. Where she stands. Yeah. And the fact is, was it at the origin of the project that you thought that, when you wrote the story, did you write it with those little things that little by little will lead us to think something? Or
well, I just thought, what would a woman like this do with no memory of herself? I think you would, for me, I felt like I would want to know who I was.
Yeah.
So she would start to look through drawers, she would start to look at paperwork. She has a study and a desk, so she'd start to look, what's on the desk? Oh, this has my name on it, so I must be the author. So I'm going to read it to find out what I think, or what I used to think, And then when she opens her wardrobe in her bedroom, I thought, that's interesting, because she doesn't really have any memory or conditioning of being feminine. And she opens 2 wardrobes and there's feminine clothes and masculine clothes, but she doesn't see any difference. So, and I thought, well, yeah, why would you? If you can't remember anything, you wouldn't remember that you don't wear shirts and ties or men's trousers. So maybe you would instinctively go for things that are more comfortable.
Yeah, sure.
And so I just, for me, it was like, what would I be? What do I think I might be like? If I couldn't remember anything, what would I feel I need to know? Photographs would be really important. You try to put a puzzle together.
Yeah. There is one scene I found quite disturbing, I would say. It's the relationship between the character and her daughter, who looks to be a lovely character. And the fact is, of course, it's difficult to accept someone with a grown-up as your child if you have no memory. But you feel very sorry for that poor girl who is slightly rejected by her mum because she doesn't know her at all. So is it some kind of way to express the fact that maybe maternity is part of the system that ties women to their conditions?
No, that wasn't my thinking really. It was she's quite traumatized, but at that point in the story, and I think she just wants to be alone. But then also somewhere in the story, I sort of suggest maybe in her previous, before she lost her memory, maybe there was a troubled relationship in which that daughter grew up, and so because it was troubled, obviously, between her and her partner, she didn't leave that partner. She didn't manage to get away from this partner. And I think the child would maybe think maybe that wasn't a good choice. But because I kind of nod to something that was a little bit abusive.
Yeah.
And I think if you're a child that had to grow up in that, you might resent your parent for not escaping. And she obviously loved her daughter, and that's why she says you're a good person.
It's a very emotional moment and moving moment
I just think it was complicated. Life is complicated, and there's something in there that's a little bit autobiographical as well in those choices.
Yeah, but it's very well crafted, because it's at the same time, as I said before, it looks like an experiment, with just remove someone's brain memory, and then, but at the same time you've got some emotion in it. It's not just experimental. It's also very, very felt. And no, really, I really loved it. We've got beautiful shots of Edinburgh. So with drones, I guess, at the beginning from Arthur's Seat, and then getting over.
It was Carlton Hill.
All right. And
we couldn't afford a drone. I asked if we could do drone shots, and the producer said no.
So what was that? So
it was a drone,
impression.
But I remembered that a friend of mine had a friend who loves to make little movies when he goes on holiday, and he goes to really beautiful countries and makes these little movies. It's like an incredible tourist film for the country. And he posts them on Vimeo. And I thought, Carson, makes those really great little holiday movies. So I got in touch with him and I said, look, you know, we need drone shots for this movie. How do you feel about doing some for us, just for fun? And he said, oh yeah, that'd be great fun. So him and I went out together and shot those together. So he's never done any drone shots for a movie before.
All right.
And I thought they were beautiful.
Okay, so it was completely,
so it's just thinking outside the
illegal.
box. Yeah, we didn't get any permission.
All right. All right.
Yeah,
well.
But I think that's the nature of short films. You know, you never have enough money, you never have enough time or resources. So you're constantly trying to think, well, how can I do this? You know?
Sure, yeah. So did you draw the shots? No.
I'm not very good at drawing, so I could do stickmen stuff, but I always write a shot list.
Because the first scene is very interesting. We start
coming down.
Yeah, and then
I mean,
inside.
It's quite classic.
Yeah, but
I thought I liked the kind of omnipresent presence of the camera.
Yeah,
you're taking the audience on a journey to go and look for this person. Where is the story beginning? Oh, we go through this window. And there she is.
It was very well made. Yeah. Now really, we get into the film in a very soft way.
Yeah.
And then, things unfold very, very well. So it's a real. I mean, I think it's a real achievement to write something which works so well when you start directing it, and you must feel very proud of that. And
yeah,
so
I am. Yeah. I mean, I've made 2 short films before and a feature film. I come from a background of TV commercials. I've done a lot of TV commercials, and that was what I ended up doing because I really wanted to do drama, but I started to try and do drama 20 years ago with short films, and I just found it so difficult for anyone to sort of take you on a journey. And I think that was also symptomatic of the time for a woman as a director. And so, and I made this little funny comedy TV commercial to see if I could maybe do some commercials to try and survive. And it won awards. It won something at Cannes, actually. And that was it. I suddenly had this huge career directing comedy and performance in advertising, and it was great. You know, I earned a living, it was really good. But I think that sort of slowed me down from doing drama. And so this is me kind of, it's been quite a few years since I did a film. And I thought, okay, if I'm going to do a film now, then I really want it to show off what I can do visually. You know, and I thought I'm really going to think hard about the photography and the aesthetics, the costumes and the set. So I was very involved in the whole creative, every department, because I wanted it to really show what I'm capable of, I think.
Yeah, well, it's a real success. And have you thought about turning that into a feature film, because you've got material for that?
I know, it's funny, quite a lot of people have said this to me. I mean, when I wrote it, I didn't think of it as a feature film, but a lot of people have mentioned it. If a producer or a production company said, hey Jackie, we think we would like to help you develop this, then I probably would.
Yeah. No, there is real potential in interactions between characters. I mean, without spoiling again.
Well, I think there could be a lot more that happens before she has the accident, and then a lot more happens during the middle.
Yeah.
And then I think the Act 3, I think that could be so much more developed.
Okay, you're ready for that.
Yeah. So I think it could be, but I don't think I'll just go and write it myself. I think somebody would have to say, I think you should do this and we'll help you develop it. Because I feel like if no one is interested in that, I think I would maybe just write a new story.
Yeah.
I have other ideas.
Yeah, that's something else. Once you're finished with the project, how do you feel? I mean, do you feel that, okay, it's over now? And
for this film?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think so. I'd like to use the film as a calling card to meet potential producers who say, right, what do you want to do now?
Yeah.
Yeah. But if they said, what do you want to do now, but we also think you should do this as a feature, then maybe I would. But I would like to talk about other ideas, which are similar themes, I think. Similar themes. I think I've obviously got a recurring theme, even though I've not done a lot. I have things that are quite, I'm a storyteller that likes things that are quite personal to me.
All right. Okay, we can't wait. I hope you turn that into a short film, and maybe submit it to This Is England Festival again?
Yeah, yeah, absolutely.
We'd love to.
I would very
All right.
much. Yeah, yeah.
Okay. Well, thank you very much. Thank you for joining us here in Rouen, and congratulations because your film is very good.
Thank you. Thank you for having me. It's been a pleasure.
You're welcome.